I know this may seem crazy based on my YouTube channel, but I've never been a big fan of sports. I was always more interested in video games, so I generally ignored watching football, basketball, etc. If you were to ask me who Drew Brees was, or if there was an NBA team called the Phoenix Suns, I would have probably answered those questions incorrectly. My ignorance got to the point where I was barely even able to follow what was happening if I was watching. My lack of interest in sports continued all the way up until August 31st, 2022, and I watched a video called Art of the Choke by EmpLemon. That video changed the way I looked at sports. Before, I assumed people only paid attention so that they could watch incredible athletes make incredible plays. I never even considered people might watch for the exact opposite reason. Watch incredible athletes make mind-bogglingly stupid decisions. Just a few weeks later, the 2022 NFL season began. So this time around, I decided to pay attention. And it turns out that the NFL is one of the greatest comedy shows of all time.
Jordan is an offensive lineman for the Carolina Panthers, and Michael Jordan recovers this fumble for an other touchdown.
On first down. They're getting to him today. Got Noah Brown. What a hit, and the ball comes out.
Stays in bounds, picks up the first down, does on Traquan Smith. Oh, and then you got a little action there. I mean, Smith was doing a little...
Trying to complete the route. McPherson, it's blocked! What a turn of events!
The last clip you just saw may look like a normal missed kick in a football game, but it was just one of a long series of shocking plays, hilarious blunders, and insane moments in the opening game for the Cincinnati Bengals and Pittsburgh Steelers. This game was covered in a video by the YouTuber Urinating Tree for his series The Greatest Game. Since that video perfectly sums up why the game was so crazy, I won't bother including it in this video. The same goes for the Vikings vs Colts game, the Vikings vs Bills game, and the Chargers vs Jaguars game. All of these games are so well known and discussed that it would be redundant for me to talk about them. Instead, I want to start off with a different AFC North team, the Cleveland Browns. Just a few years ago, the Browns were the lovable, underdog team that sucked pretty bad for a long time, but finally seemed to have a good thing going. Then they banished their quarterback to Carolina and traded a ton of draft picks for a new quarterback who is currently facing around 30 separate sexual harassment allegations and couldn't even play until week 12. The Browns are no longer a lovable underdog team. Their season was mostly expected to be a layover season, as they waited for Mr. Rape to return from his banishment, beating bad teams but struggling against good teams, but no one was really giving them much thought. Besides, why would they do this? After a decent week 1 outing with backup QB Jakobi Meyers, they would face the New York Jets in week 2. The Jets were in the same place the Browns were 5 years prior. They had not made the playoffs since 2011 and were coming off an especially bad series of seasons. Their second-year QB, Zach Wilson, was also out for the first few games of the season, so 78-year-old veteran Joe Flacco was starting in his place, and he did not have a great week 1. Most people expected this game to be another easy win for the Browns, and for the first 58 minutes, that is what it looked like. The Jets trailed 17-30 with 2:02 left on the game clock. At this point, their estimated win probability was 0.3%. This was lower than what the Vikings had in their historic comeback against the Colts during their lowest point. In order for the Jets to win, they would have to score a touchdown as fast as they could, recover an onside kick, then score another touchdown as fast as they could, and finally prevent the Browns from doing anything with whatever time left over. They could not let the Browns get the ball back, or else they could just run out the clock. While this series of events is not that complicated to explain, it is so unlikely that it never happens. This isn't even considering the fact that the team that was being asked to perform such a feat had only won 6 of their last 28 games. Most people watching the game on their TV switched the channel. Most people watching the game at the stadium began packing up to leave. But for those who stayed, they were about to witness history.
We talked about our meetings. He's really special in the fourth quarter.
And the point after is no good. Jets offensive line holding up well there. Flacco wide open. It's Davis. Davis waltzes in for the touchdown. Trying to convert. And his onside kick. He goes near side of the field. Who's got it? It's still loose.
I think
And
the
the
Jets got
Jets.
it.
No signal yet. Now they say Jets football. Robert Saleh looking for what would be a miracle comeback here down the stretch. Carter on the catch. Flacco on second down over the middle. Wilson. 2 chances to get 10 for the Jets. Flacco over the middle. It's caught. Touchdown. Garrett Wilson. And boy, that Cade York
Trying to get 6, 7, 8 yards here.
York hit a 65-yarder today during the warm-ups. Brissett's pass intercepted. It's picked off. Ashton Davis. Unbelievable. The Jets overcoming a 13-point deficit in the final minute, 55 seconds.
Statistically speaking, this was the most improbable win all season based on chance of winning. A choke like this is so inconceivable that it just never happens. But it was forgotten relatively quickly since the Browns and Jets were not really exciting teams this season. At least, it was forgotten everywhere except New York. After this game, the Jets were revitalized. They would go on to post a 6-3 record over the first half of the season, with rookies Garrett Wilson, Sauce Gardner, and Breece Hall becoming breakout stars, although the latter became injured in Week 7. However, despite there actually being hope in New York for once, the team still had one major problem. Their second-year QB Zach Wilson was back from his injury, and it turns out that he was terrible. He would end the 2022 season with just 6 touchdowns to 7 interceptions, an average passer rating of 72.8, and only completing roughly 55% of his passes. Each week the Jets won was in spite of Wilson and not because of Wilson, and coupled with a very funny controversy with him may or may not having sexual relations with his friend's mother, many Jets fans were calling for him to be benched. This outcry reached its climax during their Week 11 matchup against division rival the New England Patriots. Throughout the entire game, Zach Wilson was playing at an all-time low. He only threw for 77 yards, completed just 40% of his passes, and had a passer rating of 50. The Jets only managed to put up 3 lousy points off of a single field goal. You would think that such a terrible performance would allow the Patriots to coast to an easy win, but you would be mistaken. While not quite as bad as Mr. Milflover, second-year QB Mac Jones had regressed a ton from his rookie season, and the Patriots' offense as a whole left a lot to be desired. They too only managed to put up 3 points in the first 59 minutes of the game. At this point, it looked like the embarrassing display of offense was going to carry on for another 10 excruciating minutes into overtime. However, the Patriots still had one last opportunity to score a touchdown, as the Jets were forced to punt the ball back to the Patriots with barely any time left on the clock. Up until this point, a punt return touchdown had not been scored in the entire season, and based on the way the game had gone up to that point, no one expected this play to be the first. But the Patriots were not about to just give up and kneel down to mercy kill the game into overtime. They were going to give this last play everything they had.
10th of the day. From the 16-yard line, Marcus Jones. Got a block from Schooler. Here he goes. He's going to try to beat the punter. He does. He's gone. And that is a touchdown.
Are you kidding me, Kevin? The way this game is gone, and that's how this thing's going to finish?
I still remember exactly where I was when this happened. My dad and I were driving back from a vacation, so we were listening to the NFL games on the radio, like it's the 1400s and Genghis Khan just discovered Saturn. The radio was barely paying attention to this game since it was so low scoring, and each time they did cut to it, we would just laugh at how abysmal both teams were playing. However, we laughed the hardest when the radio cut back to the game one final time and we heard the announcers going apeshit over the last run. As soon as we stopped driving, this play was the first thing I looked up on my phone. After this game, Zach Wilson would be asked in an interview if he felt he left his team down. He said no. Zach Wilson would then be benched, only coming back to play when his replacement was injured. Although even then, he was benched again for a 4th-string quarterback. The Jets would only go on to win one more game this season and were eliminated from playoff contention in Week 17. A disappointing finish to one of the most promising seasons the Jets had in recent memory. As for the Patriots, this game did not really change much for them. Sure, they had technically gotten the best of their division rivals, but their offense still sucked, and you are not going to be able to rely on a last-second punt return touchdown every game. In fact, if anything, this win might have hurt them in the long run. It prevented the Patriots from learning an important lesson. That being, there is a time to swallow your pride, take a knee, and just force a game into overtime. Three weeks later, in Week 14, the Patriots are playing the Las Vegas Raiders. The Raiders were a team similar to the Patriots. They were not terrible, but they were not particularly good either. The Raiders did have a problem with blowing huge leads, although this is something you will not have to worry about for a while. With 1 minute left in the game, the Patriots are up 24-17. However, then Raiders QB Derek Carr does a controversial touchdown pass to Keelan Cole. To this day, the touchdown is still contested by fans from all across the NFL spectrum due to Cole's foot appearing a touch out of bounds before he completed the catch. However, the touchdown was ruled fair and the Raiders had tied the game. While all of New England is furious, there's nothing they can do except play on. It is unfortunate, but straight up bad refereeing is a constant in the NFL. Just hope that next time, they rule a stupid call in your favor. So now New England has the ball back with 30 seconds to go. At this point, most teams would either attempt a crazy Hail Mary play to try and score an incredible touchdown, or just take a knee and go into overtime. What most teams would not do is try a lateral, which in simple terms is when you turn American football into a quick game of rugby, because the risk of a pick six or fumble recovery touchdown is too big. But the Patriots are not like most teams. This is the same team that won a game just weeks prior on a last-second punt return. They know what they're doing, right?
Doc Hollins out on defense. He's all the way back. Stevenson.
Is anyone going to...
That's out the 30. Flips it back. Stanford band nowhere in sight. Uh-oh. It's picked off. Uh-oh. Oh, no.
Unbelievable.
Oh, wow. Incredible. Chandler Jones takes it in and wins the game for the Raiders. Have you ever seen an ending like that?
I've never seen anything like that. I have no idea why he was doing that. Oh my goodness.
I watched a lot of plays in the NFL this year. I do not think there is a single one that is funnier than this one. I have no clue why they decided to run the ball with such little time left. I have no clue why Ramondre Stevenson decided to lateral the ball to Jakobi Meyers. I have no clue why Jakobi Meyers decided to lateral as well. I have no clue why Jakobi Meyers chose to clearly lateral the ball to a player on the opposing team. And of course, I have no clue what Mac Jones thought he was going to do once Chandler Jones started barreling towards him with the ball. Some Patriots fans might argue that, due to the controversial Keelan Cole touchdown, this play should have never happened, and that the Patriots should have won this game. I do agree that the Patriots should have won this game, but it only took one play to prove that they did not deserve to win. And although I just said I have no clue why Jakobi Meyers did what he did, we might have just gotten our answer. But unfortunately for the Raiders, this was just a single bright spot in an otherwise pretty bad season. As I mentioned previously, the Raiders were having a problem with blowing big leads. They blew a 20-0 lead against the Cardinals in Week 2, a 17-0 lead against the Chiefs in Week 7, another 17-0 lead against the Jaguars in Week 9, a 24-14 lead against the 49ers in Week 17. They also almost blew a 17-3 lead against the New England Patriots in the game I just talked about, somehow managed to score 0 points in a game against the New Orleans Saints, and lost to the Indianapolis Colts, a team who had just fired their head coach and replaced them with Jeff Saturday, a guy whose only prior coaching experience had been at the high school level. That win the Colts had in Week 10 against the Raiders would be their last of the season. However, none of those anti-accomplishments came close to the embarrassing display of football the Raiders would demonstrate during Week 14. In order to truly wrap your head around just how bad the Raiders choked, you need to understand the team they would be playing against, the Los Angeles Rams. The Rams have had a rather wild last 2 seasons. Before the 2021 season, they traded their QB Jared Goff for the Lions' veteran QB Matthew Stafford, and saw instant results. With Stafford, they went on to have a 12-5 record and win the Super Bowl. While they lost some star players like Odell Beckham Jr. and Von Miller before the 2022 season, most NFL fans thought they would still be contenders for another Super Bowl win. Instead, all the Rams got were tough injuries and disappointment. Coming into Week 14, their record was an astonishing 3-9. The 2 best players, Cooper Kupp and Aaron Donald, had suffered season-ending injuries. Their new QB Matthew Stafford was also out for the season at this point. With their season all but over, most teams would have just called it quits and tanked for good draft picks, but the Rams had traded their first-round pick to the Lions when they acquired Stafford. The Rams not only had nothing to play for, but they did not even have something to lose for. They were in football purgatory. At the same time, there was another person stuck in football purgatory. This was QB Baker Mayfield. At the start of this video, I talked about how the Browns banished their quarterback for a guy who had more sexual assault allegations than passes thrown in the 2021 season. Baker Mayfield was the quarterback the Browns banished. Mayfield had an up and down playing career with the Browns, with him being good his first and third years but sucking his second and fourth years. This inconsistency led him to being replaced by Mr. Rape and shipped off to Carolina, where he sucked so bad that he decided to be mercy killed and requested his release from the team halfway through the season. Baker was now looking for another desperate team that would take a chance on him, and the Rams were looking for a desperate QB who might be able to win some of their last games. So, just 2 days before the Rams had to play the Raiders, the Rams signed Baker Mayfield and flew him out to LA. Now, we can finally get to the Raiders and Rams game. The Raiders were an ass team trying to prove that they were not a big ass team, and the Rams had seemingly just given up and let Baker Mayfield have one last chance to prove to the NFL that he might not be that bad. The game went about as you would expect for the first 3 quarters. The Rams put up a pitiful 3 points with a quarterback who was on a different team 48 hours ago, while the Raiders scored an underwhelming 13. Early in the 4th quarter, the Raiders kicked another field goal to go up 16-3 with 12 minutes left on the clock. This was Baker's last chance that he could be more than just a backup QB for the rest of his career, and the Rams' last chance to show that they had any life left.
To get some positive yards.
Now Mayfield goes no huddle with them. And that's hauled in. Akers. Nice move. Mayfield in the pocket to the outside, reaching up, grabbing it. Mayfield stepping up, stepping away, throws, caught, and that's going to be Brown. Malcolm Brown is a yard short of the first down. And this is Akers into the end zone. Does he get in there? The Rams say yes. And the Raiders, who haven't stopped the 1st and goal in about 14 years seemingly, give up another one here.
It took 9 minutes, but the Rams finally found the end zone and scored a touchdown. Great job, Baker. But they were still down 6 points, and the Raiders were given the ball back. All they had to do was score a few first downs and the game would be theirs. Plenty of games are won like this each season. The losing team tries to pull together a last-second rally, which is vanquished by the winning team because... Wait, no, never mind. The Raiders already went 3 and out. They have the punt now. But look, the punter kicked it all the way back to the Rams' 2-yard line. Baker Mayfield, a guy who is currently averaging a 1-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio, is going to have to lead a 98-yard touchdown drive with less than 2 minutes left in the game. He had never done this before. Many great quarterbacks have also never done that before. Of course, there was a time when Baker Mayfield had not even seen a Cheesecake Factory before. Just because it has never happened does not mean it can never happen.
Mayfield from his own end zone caught on 3rd and 1. Look out, Mayfield hit as he throws, and that is intercepted with a flag though.
Pass interference, defense number 21.
Mayfield, look out, down he goes, slam down for the sack. Flag down. the 16.
After the play, unsportsmanlike conduct, number 90 of the defense, knocking the ball out of the quarterback's hand. That's a 15-yard penalty and an automatic first down.
Well, after the play right there, Tillery knocks the ball out of the hands. Remember, they're out of timeouts.
Sure.
It's an obvious penalty.
To give them more light, deep down the sideline, and it is caught by Skoranek.
Put that football.
Under a minute, 32-yard gain. Underneath, here's Brown to the 31-yard line. 35, 34, 33. Mayfield throws. That's caught. That's a first down. Here's Skoranek. 2nd and 10. Mayfield to the end zone to Jefferson. Is that possible? Touchdown. This is impossible. They go 98 yards. (17-16).
Too good.
He's trying to get in the locked gate. They'll let him in. Here's Carr. Any magic here? No. Taylor Rapp to seal it. In a thoroughly forgettable season, an extremely memorable win.
Against all odds, a washed-up former #1 overall pick on a washed-up former Super Bowl winning team led a 98-yard touchdown drive to steal the victory from Las Vegas. This loss pretty much ended the Raiders' season. While they would pull off their own insane comeback the next week against the Patriots, they were too far behind to really have any shot at the playoffs and would lose their last 3 games anyway. And while Baker proved that he had potential to be a decent QB, the rest of the Rams season also turned out pretty bad. Although he somehow led the Rams to a whopping 51 points against the league's 3rd best defense on Christmas Day against the Denver Broncos.
And so what's oh, there's Russ Wilson. Oh, no! Oh, that's called an interception.
That's close. It's Bobby Wagner.
That's not what he wanted to cook.
His performance with the Rams would land Baker another new opportunity. A 1-year deal with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. My guess is that he'll be the starter at first, but unless he puts up Christmas Day numbers, he'll probably inevitably be pulled for the rookie Kyle Trask to see if he has any potential. But still, it's better than being 4th string Zach Wilson. The first 2 games I talked about were about the New York Jets and how they started getting traction during week 2 and looked to be one of the best teams, but fell apart around week 11. Well, their division rival, the Miami Dolphins, had a season that almost perfectly paralleled the Jets. Coming into the season, while the Dolphins were not as looked down upon as the Jets, thanks in part to acquiring one of the best wide receivers in the NFL of Tyreek Hill, there were questions about their quarterback, Tua. Tua was chosen in the same draft class as Joe Burrow, Jalen Hurts, and Justin Herbert in 2020. Those first 2 QBs already had a Super Bowl appearance in their first 3 seasons, and Justin Herbert broke numerous records for rookie QBs during his first season. Meanwhile, while Tua's stats were not abhorrent, they left a lot to be desired. But now that Tua finally had a star receiver in Tyreek Hill, this season would be his chance to make the leap to being a star QB. After a decent week 1, Tua and the Dolphins found themselves down 14-35, heading into the 4th quarter against the Baltimore Ravens during week 2, a team whose season ended up being so complicated that will not be explained whatsoever in this video. A comeback of over 21 points in the 4th quarter was so unlikely that it had not happened since 2010. The Dolphins' win percentage was estimated at 1.3%. Very few QBs could actually pull off a comeback this big, even great ones like Burrow, Hurts, and Herbert. So, no one was thinking Tua, the guy who was obviously worse than all of those great QBs, was going to turn the game around.
Mostert, waddle atop their screen. Tagovailoa. Here they come with Washington. There he goes. Oweh chasing. Touchdown, Craycraft. 75-yard drive. It is true. And a new score from Baltimore. And the running back is Mike Davis. Jackson will take it himself with the Davis block, I think. He was stood up and stoned. He did not make it.
Put a drive here together and get 7. It changes the landscape of this game.
2nd down and 3, and they go outside, and it's caught on 3rd and 10. Tua going deep. Oh, he's got Hill! He's got Hill! That is 6!
Hill is by himself to the right. The Ravens bring pressure off the left side, so that means on the backside, Marcus Peters is one-on-one.
Sanders to make it a touchdown game with 7:47 to go. It's true 35-28.
Didn't bring it in.
Safeties are deep here, 3rd and 12. Hill a block, Jackson on the move, flag is thrown, needs the 40. Look out, downfield, incomplete to Likely. Tagovailoa, blocked by Armstead. Going, he's got him! He's got him! Tyreek Hill! And the Dolphins have come back! 60 yards! Unbelievable! This will tie Sanders at 35. Waddle has 161 yards. Tyreek Hill has 160 receiving yards. Tagovailoa has thrown for 429 yards and 5 touchdowns to come back from 3 touchdowns down at halftime to tie the game at 35.
Tua had turned the game around. He was helped out by his defense making major stops and famous respecter of kids Tyreek Hill being able to run 1,000 yards in 2 seconds, but he was also unleashing his full potential. Unfortunately, the Ravens were able to kick a field goal on their next possession, meaning that the Dolphins were still losing. Tua and the rest of the Dolphins offense were going to need to continue their Super Saiyan run if they were going to win.
2nd down and 7. They blitz, they bring 5. Tagovailoa, an acrobatic catch.
That's getting it into Baltimore territory.
Edmonds in the backfield, Armstead the block. Here comes Hill at the 40. He broke the tackle that time with him. Williams, he breaks another tackle, then Clark from behind rides him down. Craycraft. Edmonds. Big hole! Sprinting free! There he goes! Inside the 10! Tagovailoa. Blocked by Armstead, 2 into the end zone, caught for the touchdown! Caught for the touchdown! Waddle! Miami has taken the lead!
Tua led one more incredible touchdown drive to cap off the 2nd craziest comeback of the week. And just like how the Jets were able to swing momentum in their favor, the Dolphins were too after this win. Tua continued to play at a top tier level in the following weeks, while wide receivers Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle made their case for being the best wide receiver duo in the NFL. They hit a small snag when the Dolphins medical staff almost got Tua killed in weeks 3 and 4, but just like with the Ravens season, that is a rabbit hole for another day. Coming into week 13, they are looking like one of the strongest teams in the NFL with an 8-3 record, and their only losses coming against good teams when Tua did not play the entire time. However, they would face their first major roadblock against the San Francisco 49ers. After a rocky 3-4 start in their first 7 weeks, including losing their starting QB Trey Lance in week 2, the 49ers, now led by the hottest football player ever, Jimmy G, were on a 4-game win streak. This would be an important game where both of these teams had the chance to prove that they were Super Bowl contenders, but were also at risk of being accused of being frauds. The Dolphins had possibly the best possible start to a game this season, scoring on literally the very first play after the kickoff, when Tua threw a touchdown pass to Trent Sherfield. On top of that, Jimmy G would be injured in the 49ers' first drive and would be out for the rest of the season, meaning that the 49ers are now down to their 3rd-string quarterback, Brock Purdy. Brock was a rookie who was literally the very last pick of the 2022 NFL Draft. It seemed like the game was over before it began. The 49ers' hot streak would end, while the Dolphins would begin to prepare for the postseason. But then, the unthinkable happened.
There's another one of those looks with everybody at the line of scrimmage. Purdy given time, and he completes it to McCaffrey. Back again, down to 2, they get it off. Purdy looks to throw, huge check, touchdown, San Francisco. Snap floats back there, kind of threw off the timing of the play. Deebo Samuel makes something out of nothing. Taught late today in New York, Giants and Commanders, some big decisions for those head coaches and what ended a tie. Got rid of this one as he was hit and found Kittle.
Weird thing, Tua Tagovailoa has just not been accurate today.
Jennings has his first catch, coming off his best game. Jawan Jennings crunched from behind by Wilkins. 3rd down and goal in a 10-10 game. One more shot for the Niners. Purdy underneath for the touchdown. It's McCaffrey. Tagovailoa. Diving pick. Jimmy Ward. Superman dive and an interception. First interception thrown by Tagovailoa since September. 49ers with it again. Purdy off play action, anticipates and has Samuel. Third down and 1, out of the gun. Purdy looking to throw. Given time. Coverage downfield tight. Keeps it alive. Lofts one up for Samuel. Roll him on the first play of this drive. Edwin gets intercepted. Just a bad throw behind a wide open Hill. And Diamador Lenore has the interception. Purdy looks to throw for it. Over the middle, he's got Samuel. First down, San Francisco. Play action. Purdy has Kittle. First down, San Francisco. Beating Jerome Baker by just enough. 49er. Down 9 with 2 to go. Tagovailoa hit as he throws. Ball is out. Ball is live. And it is a touchdown for Dre Greenlaw. 49ers, meanwhile, you cross your fingers about Jimmy Garoppolo. You're very encouraged, got to be about Brock Purdy, but...
The 49ers won this game, and it was not even close. This is despite everything I just said. It turns out that Brock Purdy, the third-string newbie, might be the best quarterback since Tom Brady. Purdy would continue the 49ers win streak through the rest of the regular season, going on to beat the Seahawks and Cowboys in the playoffs. But then, and this might be the oddest thing of all, he got injured in the NFC Championship game, forcing the 49ers to call in their fourth-string QB that they had signed after Jimmy G's injury. But then, that fourth-string QB got injured with a concussion, forcing Purdy to go in with an injured elbow that severely hindered his ability to throw. The 49ers would obviously lose this game. No amount of QB luck could get them out of this mess. But Purdy would finish with an insane 16-4 touchdown to interception ratio, just a single fumble, and led the league in average passer rating, a title that he stole from Tua. Along with losing his position as the highest rated QB in the league, Tua would not win another game for the rest of the season. He came close on Christmas Day against the Green Bay Packers, but he would throw 3 crucial interceptions in the second half of the game, costing the Dolphins the win. However, it was revealed the next day that Tua was suffering from another concussion, and the Christmas Day game was the last game he played that season. The Dolphins did manage to win one more game and clinch the playoffs, which came against the only other team that had a bigger self-destruction, the New York Jets. And honestly, the Dolphins do seem to have a bright future ahead of them. They have a great offense and are currently rebuilding their defense. But if they want to turn Tua into the next Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes, or Brock Purdy, they're going to have to stop him from getting killed every single game. Throughout this video, I have mostly focused on teams in the AFC. The Browns, Jets, Patriots, Raiders, and Dolphins all play in this conference. So, I think it is time we take a look at 2 teams in the NFC that had just as an eventful 2022 season as all of those teams. The first team we have left to discuss is the Green Bay Packers. They were coming off of 2 very successful seasons. They had gone 13-3 in 2020 and 13-4 in 2021. Additionally, their quarterback, veteran Aaron Rodgers, was playing at such a high level that he had won MVP in both of those seasons. But despite their major success in the regular season, both times the Packers fell short of making a Super Bowl, with them not even advancing to the Final Four in 2021. So, coming into 2022, they were looked at as one of the best teams in the league with something to prove. Their season started out strong, going 3-1 in their first 4 games, including a win against Tom Brady's Buccaneers, which, while that team went on to do poorly, were viewed as one of the best teams during the preseason. But then, things started to fall apart. They would lose their next 5 games in a row. They would win their 10th game against the Cowboys, because the Packers always beat the Cowboys, but then lose their next 2. They did win the last game they played before their bye week, but it was against the Chicago Bears, who ended the season with the worst record, and also the Packers always beat them anyway. Their record was now a very concerning 5-8. The seemingly indestructible Packers were being destroyed, and the worst part was that they did not have an easy punching bag to blame. Their defense was not making stops when they needed to, their special teams were making cringe-worthy mistakes, and Rodgers and the offense had taken a massive nosedive in output. There were even calls for Rodgers to be benched and have unproven QB Jordan Love start instead. But the Packers decided to make one last push to sneak into the playoffs, and they would have a much better shot if they continued to start Rodgers, so that is what they did.
Stay on the ground. Why not? Dillon pounding his way for a touchdown. 2nd and goal. Dillon again. He's in for the touchdown. He had completed 7 straight prior to that. 2nd down and goal. Here is Jones out on the edge. Touchdown. 4th sack of the night for Green Bay. Mayfield got hit. Picked off by Douglas. They'll look to throw it. Rodgers to the end zone has a wide open Mercedes Lewis for the touchdown.
129 yards in this first half. Here's Mostert. Lost the ball. It's recovered by the Packers and Jaron Reed. Pressure coming. Rodgers, sideline, Lewis! Mercedes Lewis sets up 1st and goal. Inside the 1. They give it to Dillon again. At the goal line, he spins in. Dolphins trying to snap a 3-game losing streak. Tagovailoa. Uh-oh, that one's picked! Dueling interceptions! Jair Alexander. Punch, counter punch. Back to the 30. 2nd and 13. That's picked off by Devondre Campbell. Over the sideline and picked.
9 plays, only 12 yards total for both teams combined. No first downs. This is Nixon, who's dangerous. Oh, here he goes! My goodness! He's taking it the distance. They shift Jefferson to a slot to the right side. There's the pass down the middle, and it's broken up and intercepted. Off the deflection, it's picked off. Savage got blockers in front. Only Cousins is down there. He won't get him. Burping on my glass. I guess what it is. 1st and 10. Oh, that ball may have been tipped. It was, and Amos has it. Quarter. That's crazy. They're not out of it, but 2nd and 11. Rodgers backs up to buy time to the end zone. Touchdown. 56 to close out the half. Gives it his best. Is it enough? Hits the crossbar and goes through. Here we go. 1st and goal. Dillon got the shove. Got the 6. Albert's again sidelined today. Here's Cousins. Launching a long one, and he's intercepted. It's Rudy Ford. Ford with their 4th takeaway of the game. Who put in good work all day. Rodgers on the run. Pump fake. Frees him to the end zone.
The Packers went on to win their next 3 games, rebounding to an 8-8 record. This included a win against division rival the Minnesota Vikings, who came into the game with a 12-3 record, but were blown out 41-17. The Packers are on the upswing after a very rocky first 3 quarters of the season, and now, thanks to some other teams choking their last few games, they controlled their destiny. All they had to do to make the playoffs was to win their final game, and they were in. However, there was one problem. The last team they had to face might have been the only team with more on the line than the Packers, the Detroit Lions. The Detroit Lions are not a very good football franchise. Along with the Cleveland Browns, they are known for being the football team that is almost always bad. And in the case that they do actually make it to the playoffs, they have literally only won a single game in the postseason. As I mentioned earlier, in 2021, the Lions traded their star quarterback Matthew Stafford for the Los Angeles Rams' Jared Goff. And while the Rams went on to win the Super Bowl, the Lions ended their season with an abysmal 3-13-1 record, not even winning a game until week 13. Although they made some improvements to their roster, most analysts believe that their season would go about as poorly in 2022. And for the first 8 weeks, that is what it seemed like. The Lions had a record of 1-6 and were ranked 32nd out of 32 teams in the NFL. The majority of the blame was put on the Lions' defense, as the Lions' offense was actually performing very well, at least in the games they scored more than 6 points in. After a loss to the Miami Dolphins, the Lions fired their defensive backs coach Aubrey Pleasant and prepared for a home game against the Green Bay Packers. The game was expected to be a bounce-back game for the Packers, who are on their losing streak. But expectations are often far from reality, and the Lions ended up with their 2nd win of the season thanks to Rodgers inexplicably throwing 3 interceptions. The win not only made the Packers finally realize that their season was on life support, but gave the Lions the hope they need, as their season was far from over. They began to win lots of their games, with wide receiver Amon-Ra St. Brown, defensive end Aiden Hutchinson, and running back Jamal Williams becoming breakout stars for the team. Jamal Williams in particular became known throughout the NFL for his unusual personality for an NFL star,
First swag Kazakage, leader of the hidden village of the Den,
and his ability to effortlessly score touchdowns from the 1-yard line. The Lions entered Week 16 with a 7-7 record, including big wins against the New York Jets, Jacksonville Jaguars, and Minnesota Vikings. They now face the Carolina Panthers in Week 16, a team that was much worse than all those teams and did not have much to play for. It looked like the Lions were finally going to have a positive win-loss record for the first time since 2017. But just like how the Lions pulled off the upset victory against the Packers, the Panthers pulled off the upset win against the Lions, and in stunning fashion, as they literally broke their franchise record for most rushing yards in a single game. That already sounds insane, but gets even crazier when you realize that the Panthers literally traded their star running back CMC earlier in the year, so they were effectively using second and third string running backs. With the heartbreaking loss to the Panthers, the Lions lost control of their season. They were able to win in Week 17 against the Bears because, as previously stated, the Bears sucked. But now two things had to happen in order for them to make the playoffs. First, they had to win their rematch against the Packers. But they also had to make sure that the Seahawks, another team that was 8-8 and previously beaten the Lions, lost their game. Thankfully, the Seahawks are playing the Lions' old friend, the Rams, so hopefully Matthew Stafford would find them himself to have one good performance in an otherwise shitty season. Oh wait, I just remembered, Matthew Stafford was injured. Baker Mayfield was the Rams' starting quarterback now. Oh god.
Well, the Rams were in on the McCaffrey sweepstakes and it just didn't work out, but I'll tell you what worked out is Kobe Bryant in the backfield.
3rd down and 3. Mayfield with pressure late, he's in trouble and he's sacked for the 2nd time on the drive.
Learn about guys like that, play with his style, but you gotta be yourself.
3rd and 10, Mayfield in all kinds of trouble, runs into a sack. Battle of 1st down.
2 times in a row they've lined up with him offset.
Smith looking for the end zone and Lockett.
Oh, what
and he drops it in! Tyler Lockett with the touchdown! The first Ram to do it since Gurley in 2015. Baker Mayfield in trouble and he's going to be sacked for the 5th time! Away for later in the OT, 2nd down. Mayfield going deep, he's got Van Jefferson open and it's intercepted! Quandre Diggs! And hope springs eternal in Seattle.
Without even playing their final game, the Lions have been eliminated from playoff contention. Even if they won this game, they would not make it to the postseason. In the moment, most people assumed that now the Packers had an even bigger chance of winning and making their way into the playoffs. But there was still a game to be played, and the Lions' dignity was on the line. This was their chance to end their streak of losing seasons. They did not have to worry about tanking for draft picks, because the Rams had already gift-wrapped them the 6th overall pick. If they were able to win this game, it would end the season on a very positive note, and the future would look bright. What happens when a team whose season is on the line plays a team whose franchise is on the line? We were about to find out.
They are going to go for it. It's Lazard, and he's stopped behind the line of scrimmage by Alex Anzalone. 5 in the pattern for Goff. Holds it, throws it, contact. Rodgers, pocket collapses, Hutchinson chases him and gets him. Knocked the ball out as well, but they say Rodgers was down. Lions need 14 for a 1st down. Goff throws. They'll get some of it with Swift to the 28. Timeout was taken, but a flat.
Right in here.
The whistles were going at this time as the official was coming in.
Did they call a timeout?
Well, it turns out it is some pretty shit football. No touchdowns were scored in the first half, just a bunch of field goals. And it looks like the second half will not be very different. Here comes Mason Crosby to kick a field goal now. Oh. Not wanting to waste their opportunity, the Lions would respond to the missed field goal with the first touchdown drive of the game to take the lead, which ended with Jamal Williams running it in from the 1-yard line. But then, the Packers responded with a drive of their own, ending with a touchdown and retaking the lead. Suddenly, the game was heating up. Both teams exchanged punts on their next drive. so the ball was back to the Lions, and the clock was ticking. With 9 minutes left, the Lions had 4th down and 2, and they chose to go for it.
Goff gonna throw for it, and going to get the first down with DJ Chark.
They got it. This was their chance to take back the lead and Jamal Williams' chance to break the Lions record for most rushing touchdowns in a single season. Would they do it?
Situations like this too. 22 pitch, Swift catches it with the left hand, turns it upfield. DeAndre Swift. The 4, it's Williams straight ahead to the goal line. It's a big pile push. Is he in? Oh, they say he's short. Williams into the end zone. The Lions retake the lead.
With less than 6 minutes to go, the Lions had retaken the lead with Jamal Williams' record-breaking touchdown. But the game was not over yet. The Lions defense could regress back to their Week 1 self for their last drive of the season, and Aaron Rodgers could go back to being his MVP self at any moment too. Both Packers and Lions fans alike eagerly awaited to see how what could be the Packers' last offensive possession of the season would go.
Here's a blitz. Can Rodgers beat it? Big ball downfield, and it is intercepted by Kirby Joseph.
An interception. Rodgers' first of the game, of course. But the Lions could not run out the clock yet. They needed to not shit the bed with their final possession. So, on their very first play after the interception, this happened.
Letting Seattle in the 45-yard line. They're going to go to the air. Goff throws, and it is it caught? Is it held on to? Incomplete. Ruled incomplete. Wait a minute. They've had a conversation amongst the officials. They say catch.
Did it never hit the ground? It got tied up in his legs.
Oh my goodness.
An incredible butt catch by Amon-Ra St. Brown to keep the momentum going. The Lions would dick around for the next few plays, resulting in them moving 7 yards backwards. But then, they pulled off this play.
The Lions have thrown in a couple of spots here you'd expect them to run. They do again, St. Brown, who pitches it back to Swift, who's on the run. Swift inside the 20 to the 17-yard line.
A crazy lateral which almost got them the first down. The Lions were really about to win this. All they had to do was convert this 4th down, and the win would be theirs.
Season comes down to a snap. And Goff is looking to throw it. He throws it. It's caught for the first down by DJ Chark. And you can hear them from all the way in Seattle. The Lions have come into Lambeau, and they've knocked the Packers down and out.
After a series of incredible 4th quarter plays, the Detroit Lions had pulled off the upset. The Packers would be eliminated from playoff contention, and the Lions would have their first win in season in years. Hopefully, this win is the start of a new era in Detroit. They have a really good offense, and if they can work and improve in their defense, they can seriously be a contender to make it far into playoffs. While they unfortunately lost Jamal Williams in free agency, they have replaced him with an arguably better running back, and are already making key additions to their defense. And despite the Packers' loss, their future does not actually look that bad. Aaron Rodgers seems to finally be ready to move on to the New York Jets, which means that the Packers do not have to worry about appealing to every demand Rodgers has, and can focus on what is best for the team. Plus, they still have Jordan Love, who has been waiting 3 years to get his first significant playing time. Both of these teams have the potential to become great over the next few years, and only time will tell if they actually will. Now, after all this, you may be wondering, well, I get that the Packers and Lions had an interesting storyline throughout the season, but why end the video about the craziest chokes in the NFL here? Is it just because the Packers were slightly favored to win? And this is a fair complaint. There is one stupidly idiotic play the Packers committed near the end of the game that might be more outrageous than anything I have talked about so far. More unusual than a team scoring 14 points in the last 2 minutes, less intelligent than Jakobi Meyers throwing a pass to the other team, and crazier than Tua's breakout season being kneecapped by the arrival of football's next Jesus Christ. And the reason it has taken me so long to get to it is because this is not a play that you can just see by watching the highlights reel on the NFL official YouTube channel. In fact, this single play is something that I am sure was purposely removed from the reel, despite its significance to the game because of how outlandish it was. Let me set the stage for you. It is 13-16, Packers win in the 4th quarter, and the Lions are on their eventual touchdown drive. So it is crucial that the Packers defense plays perfectly to prevent the Lions from scoring a touchdown. The play the Lions run is a running play. QB Jared Goff hands the ball to running back DeAndre Swift, who is quickly tackled by Devondre Campbell. However, it seems like another Packers player, Jaron Reed, got a cheap hit off on him, causing DeAndre Swift and the Lions to call for medical staff to examine a potential injury. The TV broadcast shows a better angle of the play, and sure enough, Reed did get an illegal hit off on Swift. So, while Swift is now injured, it is pretty clear that there's going to be a penalty on the Packers, and the Lions are going to get even closer to taking the lead, which is definitely not what the Packers wanted. As expected, a flag comes out, but it is not on Jaron Reed.
After the play, unsportsmanlike conduct, number 7 of the defense.
Oh.
Half the distance to the goal, automatic first down.
So that's on Quay Walker, and they missed the penalty you guys were talking about.
The penalty is on the Packers rookie linebacker Quay Walker, not Reed, and it was for something that Walker apparently did after the play. Since the camera the entire time has been focused on Reed's dirty hit on Swift, both the viewers at home and the announcers did not really know why this happened. So, they show another replay of what happened after the play.
Hit him in the head.
Oh, he pushed a member of the athletic training staff. That's ridiculous. Wow.
If there's ever a reason to never push the athletic trainers, this would certainly be that week.
Terry, could you get ejected for that?
Absolutely. We've seen that on the sidelines with pushing or contacting coaches. They are going to disqualify for that. So, yes, we just were informed.
Okay, let's see if they...
Quay Walker shoved a members of the Lions medical staff. What? Why would he do that? As far as I can tell, the Lions athletic trainer was just trying to make their way into the crowd to look at Swift. They obviously were not trying to fight Walker. And for context, this came just days after the Damar Hamlin incident, which is when Bills safety Damar Hamlin collapsed in the middle of the game after suffering cardiac arrest. After the incident, it was reported that Hamlin's life was saved by a member of the Bills medical staff who performed CPR on him. Why Walker thought he could get away with the shove when the NFL's medical staff is receiving the most praise they have ever received is anyone's guess. And to make it even worse, Walker was already ejected from another game earlier that season after he shoved one of the Buffalo Bills coaches, so he has a history of doing these kinds of things. Upon further review, the game was stopped once more and Quay Walker was officially ejected from the game. The penalty Walker had committed moved the Lions up to the Packers' 5-yard line with a first down, and 3 plays later, Jamal Williams scored a game-winning touchdown for the Lions. I am sure that, in the grand scheme of things, the Lions would have won this game without the penalty. All it really did was move them 6 yards closer. But that is not how the game went. In the game, a Packer committed an insanely stupid penalty on a member of the Lions training staff, and the team paid the consequences. The Packers deserve to lose this game. If not for Walker's penalty, then for Reed's uncalled hit on Swift, and if not for that, for the simple fact that they were the worst team that day. I started this video talking about how I was drawn to football because I liked watching incredible athletes make stupid plays, and that is so true. Nothing is funnier than the Falcons and Chargers double fumble, or 2 of the Raiders wide receivers bumping into each other on the final play of the game. But as EmpLemon pointed out at the end of his Art of the Choke, for every incredible choke, there's an incredible victory. While stupid moments like Quay Walker's penalty, Zach Wilson's ineptitude on offense, and the Raiders' consistent fourth quarter meltdowns are all hilariously bad, each of those moments led to a genuinely great player having the opportunity to shine. Jakobi Meyers' interception gave 4-time Pro Bowler Chandler Jones his 2nd ever touchdown. The Ravens' fourth quarter meltdown in Week 2 gave Tua the confidence he needed to prove that he could be a great quarterback. But Tua and the Dolphins' eventual decline gave Brock Purdy the opportunity to show he has what it takes to be a starting quarterback. The NFL can be one of the greatest comedy shows on television, but at its heart, it is just a really exciting game. See you next season.